Hello and welcome. Let's talk about this very cartoony tarot deck by the Wizard of Barge called the Wizard's Tarot. First of all, very nice box design. It's good and thick. Images on every side. The inside explains the suits, which are a little bit different from, or actually a lot different, from what you're going to find in your typical tarot deck. And I like the fact that none of the images on the box are used directly as cards. They are all unique to the box itself. The Wizard of Barge is a lot of fun. I've been wanting to get his deck for a while. A friend of mine picked it up some years ago and I was impressed with it. Though it's not the kind of deck that I would typically use, I love what this guy makes, and I really want to support him and all artists out there who are doing their best to delight us with stuff that works well as memes, and they just ask that we, wear it as a hoodie or t-shirt or tote bag. And I think that it's a reasonable way to show what kind of fun we appreciate. And frankly, like anybody, I want people who are doing great things to keep doing their thing, in the same way that I hope people who are appreciating what I do give me some support so that I can eat and do this and have a place, hang a thing behind me while I make my videos. So as I said, the suits in the Wizard of Barge deck are a little different from your typical suits. The Wizard explains that the suit of beasts in this deck should be used as wands, colts should be used as pentacles, curses as cups, and, well, the swords are just swords. Because how could the wizard really express himself without swords? The suits themselves, while they do keep to the theme of the name of the suit, they don't have as much artistic variation or theme visually from image to image that define how the suits are being graphically expressed. The thing about this deck is that if you have ever dreamed that the kid sitting next to you in middle school or in high school doodling on their notebook. In my case, it was a guy who was doodling on his pants. He had this pair of jeans they had almost completely covered in ink with all these very elongated, kind of grossly exaggerated images of characters and people. And he just covered the denim with ink. And he would draw on them in class, and I'd be like, oh man, what are you working on today? So if you ever wanted that kid to draw a tarot deck for you, the Wizard's Tarot is a perfect deck for you. It has that feel all the way through. The real reason that I would not use this for readings is, first of all, because of that lack of strong visual themes from image to image. It's a lot of fun, but lacks structure. So I would pull this out as like a gag deck for a goofy reading. I would have a difficult time giving somebody a complete heart-to-heart reading with this deck. It's a little too silly for my style. There are some people who work a lot of comedy and like a lot of silliness and a lot of pop culture references, a lot of fantasy references in the way that they read. This would be a fabulous deck for them. I'm too serious, I know. So let's take a look at the cards themselves so you can see what I'm talking about. Here in the suit of colts, there's the two right there. I really like the Illuminati kind of theme going on here. The reference to the image on the back of the dollar bill. it definitely gives that official, but why am I looking at this kind of energy. The Five of Colts I really like, because you've got these two guys on the sides who seem really distressed by this thing that they've summoned up here, and the third guy who seems to be really pleased about the situation, the one holding the knife. Who knows what he said to the other guys in order to get them here. Though the fact is, they're all skeletons. So what is the relationship between skeleton dudes and their culture and webbed armpit demons? I'm not sure. You got to work that out in your reading, I guess. Nevertheless, the cartooniness, the emotion, the way that this image describes what's happening and the reactions, very comic booky, really fabulous. And something from the courts, the King of Colts. I like this depiction because in a lot of science fiction, you get this sense that that's really what a cult leader either wants to be or actually is. A giant brain that is observing everything and controlling whatever is possible from behind the scenes. The singular thought pattern that makes the cult possible. We also have beasts. I got to admit, the beasts are not as beastly as I would like them to be. A lot of them seem to be the same kind of critters you see in the rest of the deck, but more prepared for BDSM. So I've picked out a few of my favorites. They're too bipedal to me. Most of them have one head. You know, this one's got a little torso mouth there that I really like. Limbs that end in extra eyes. This is a beast. This is a real creature. And you always get me when you add a bunch of piles of slime to an image. The Eight of Beasts. Now, so if you think back to that King of Colts that I just showed you, very similar visual design here. And you see that throughout most of the deck, primarily, in my opinion, because the focal center is in the middle of all of the images in this deck. Your eye goes straight to the center and sort of works out from there. I don't have any problem with that in general, but to see it over and over again in a deck that, again, doesn't have those graphic themes in between the suits and to differentiate the trump or major cards, the way that the deck strikes me is a little bit smooth. There is not a lot of texture, not a lot of transition or strong differentiation from card to card as you're going through the deck. I like to see more of that in a deck I'm going to use, not because I got a problem with this art style. I bought the deck, I like it, but because I think a lot about focal points and lines of direction in cards when they lay out on a spread. So if every card has a central focal point, I have a less of a chance to get those cards talking to each other just through visual associations. But I do think that this thing that is sort of forming out of the ether is super cool. And the Queen of Beasts, like I said, a lot of characters that generally are human but are wearing cool BDSM stuff, though her head is just fabulous, and he uses this image of the Wheel of Eyes pretty frequently, and I do like the consistency that it creates, that it's a common theme, but one that is very difficult to interpret just by itself. In swords, we've got a lot of things that incorporate swords into them. So like this double dude is carrying 4 swords, has really wicked awesome horns, and seems to be coming out of an Iron Maiden, which is full of swords. So there's this sense that you use the swords, but also the swords create the environment. The Ten of Swords, the mysterious wizard who wants to sell you a dagger. And I think the Page of Swords is pretty cool in this deck because I presume that this is the page up here. Not the kind of character who would use a sword, but definitely the kind that would shove you into a pit of swords. The curses mostly just represent gnarly things in each of the cards. So here you have the Toilet Curse. That looks kind of like the Grinch. The Seven of Curses is an image of gaming. And I don't know if you've ever been stuck with a really inexperienced or power-hungry DM, but trying to get through those games can definitely feel like a curse. And the Knight of Curses, I like the ambiguity in this card. Is the shadow itself the knight? Is this character carrying a curse that has turned them into a kind of knight? There's a lot of questions about what's going on here and how conscious this character is of their position. As for the major or trump cards, this is one of the few magician cards that does not include all of the items related to the suits. So I do find that pretty interesting. I like the flaming skulls there, the sun and moon imagery, a nice balanced magician. This is a pretty great rendition of the Chariot. I like the eyes in the sky here, the clouds in the background, the winky eye skull on the front of the motorcycle, and just the sense that this guy is out for a good time, not dressed for anything in particular, no idea what he's going to run into. This is a very unique star card. I have never seen one oriented quite like this, with this sense that the character in the foreground is going somewhere for a visit, maybe returning home, though I really do appreciate the eyes and mouth on the castle. Is that like some kind of giant mimic that just eats visitors as they come? Is it the visitor's friend? Is it just a living castle that, will talk to you as you bake your dinner or whatever? You get to pick. And this world card I bring out mainly because it is a curious reference to many very early world cards in tarot tradition, in which you had a circle of the world in the bottom half of the card, and it may depict the seasons, it may depict different geographies or environments. There were several ways to represent the world in this case, but there was always a character of some kind above the world, perhaps representing a herald of the gods, perhaps a woman of victory. There were a lot of different possibilities for how that character could be represented, but I find it pretty cool that the Wizard of Barge has arranged their world card according to that really old tradition, whether he knew it or not. So that is Dakota Kate's super fun Wizard's Tarot. If you're a person who wants to mainly do readings for yourself or close friends, and you're really open to having a sense of humor about it, or you just want to talk about a bunch of far-out characters, this is a fabulous deck for you. If you're looking to do serious professional readings, provide people with spiritual healing, and you know how to do it with this deck, please offer me some examples of how you do that. I would be amazed and, frankly, really impressed. Thank you so much for listening. If you are looking to form a long-term relationship with an expert tarot reader, please check out my Patreon. If you want private classes and you would like to become an expert yourself, I am more than happy to guide you through that process. Please check out newelltarot.com. And any thoughts that you've got about these deck reviews, other things you want to know about the decks, or anything that you'd like to see on this channel related to spiritual education and developing your own skills, please let me know in the comments so that we can have a conversation. Take care and have a great day.